might have been Monday morning. What did you think of the game last night?
We looked nervous at the start, but
Yeah.
I think that was to be expected given our recent run of form. But I have to say that I was impressed by the way that we responded, especially coming out the second half.
Mm-hmm.
I was having dinner with my girlfriend when we scored that goal, and I can't remember the last time we scored a goal from open play. It was so exciting.
It was so nice. It was so nice. I don't think I've shouted that loud in a while. I think I just screamed, "He's back!" The second Oba put it in the back of the net. Like, yeah.
Exactly. Like the second it was so good to see him score. There's actually a clip that I actually put on my Twitter as well. Arsenal did a tweet, the video of Aubameyang scoring, and you can see Romeu, as soon as Aubameyang gets the ball, before he's even finished it, he's put his hands on his head because he just knows what's coming. And it was so good.
Yes.
It was so good to see him back in that inside left. You just know what's going to happen. It was great. And from that moment on, it really looked like it had energized the team.
Yeah.
And I'd have put, if I could afford to buy a house, I'd have put my mortgage. I'd have put my mortgage on us going on to win that game, and then that sending off. I mean, what's that? 3 red cards in 5 games now.
It's insanity. It's insanity. I feel like it was. They were such stupid bookings as well. Like the first booking was for kicking the ball away, right? Which I think is such a petulant thing to do. You can only imagine that Arteta has been telling them all week, just keep your head, keep your head, keep your head. There's only so much you can do, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think it's difficult to get angry at Gabriel because of, he's had such a good start and he looks like such a good signing, but it's just so frustrating, isn't it? When, I really thought that we were going to go on and win that game and kickstart our season, and it's just another setback. And it was disappointing, man. But yeah, overall, I mean, I'm feeling, like I said, better. I think that performance, there were definitely positives in it. Maitland-Niles came in and played well at right back. We started to look a bit more creative in that second half, which is obviously exciting. But yeah, man, it's tough times. I mean, 15th with 12 games played.
It is. I tweeted a thing recently. I don't know if you watch BoJack Horseman, but there's a great quote where he says, "I don't believe in rock bottom because every time I hit rock bottom, I find another rock bottom." And I think it kind of sums up Arsenal at the moment. It's like,
it's so dope.
When we lost to Brighton at home last year, I was like, okay, this is rock bottom. And I was like, oh no, wait, there's more.
No.
But yeah, I agree with you. I think the second half, the second Oba scored, I thought, okay, we are going to win this game. And then just that sending off, you think Arteta can only deal with so much, and he's starting to look like a very frustrated figure on the sideline, looking at the team he's been dealt. But we're going to talk about how we've kind of found ourselves in this situation in the first place. On Twitter, I put a poll up seeing who was most at fault and who was to blame for where we currently are. And the 4 candidates were the Kroenkes, the board, the manager, and the team. Now, it was a joint winner of the Kroenkes and the board. So,
really?
Yeah, Arteta came out bottom, which I was pleased to see because I think he's the least of our worries. But we'll start with the Kroenkes. Now, what are your thoughts on them, their philosophy towards running a sports team?
Yeah, well, I mean, they're a business, aren't they? They're not passionate about football. They own, I think it's the Rams NFL team.
Yeah.
The painful thing about the Kroenkes is that they've got so much money. I think Stan Kroenke is worth around £8.4 billion.
Yeah.
So it's not like he doesn't have the funding. His first priority is going to be his NFL team.
Mm-hmm.
He's American, and that's the sport he actually cares about. Seems like he's kind of delegated the responsibility to Josh for the kind of running of Arsenal. I mean, they don't care about football. It doesn't really seem. It looks like the only time they invest money is when there's real pressure from the fans and our backs are against the wall, that they decide to dip in and get Thomas Partey, which I was so excited about. It was a great signing, but it feels like they're hesitant to invest. What do you think?
Yeah, I feel like the only time they invest is when they think their investment could lose money. Like when they think their portfolio is going to look worse, they kind of throw us some money, which is okay, fine. You can say they've invested. We've spent quite a bit of we've spent quite a bit of money over the last 10 years. We can talk about how badly we've spent it, but how much money they've personally invested is nothing. I think the 45 million for Partey was the first time that Stan Kroenke has actually put his hand into his own pocket. He doesn't back the team. So I think that is where the problems start. And you're right, his focus is definitely on the NFL and baseball.
Yeah, I mean, that's what, you're right. The only positive to come out of the situation is that our backs are fully against the wall at the moment. And it will be interesting to see whether, January comes and they're like, okay, look, we need some proper investment. We need a creative midfielder. We maybe need another striker to come in. They're talking about a centre-back. I'm not really sure that's actually what we need at the moment. But, it'll be interesting to see in January whether or not. But, yeah, man, I mean, I don't like them. I don't think many fans like them. I haven't spoken to an Arsenal fan that does. I'm pretty sure they've got a hunting channel. I'm not sure if that's a rumour.
Yeah,
they've got like a game hunting channel.
They do. They're like big NRA guys, I think.
Yeah, they're the worst people, man. They're it's.
Yeah, I think you're right. I'm yet to find an Arsenal fan who has a positive word to say about them. The only thing that worries me now is that in January, one, it's hard to get business done in the first place, and two, people know how fucking desperate we are now because of the position we're in. But hopefully, we bring some players in. Our would be nice. We all know that we've.
I think he should be top of the list. Really, I know people were looking at Dominic, who looks like he's going from one Red Bull club to the other.
Yeah, it's been announced in the last hour.
Yeah. So, he would have been great, but look, he's direct at the moment. People say what you want about Pepe, but he's the only player that looks like he's willing to run at players. And I think Martinelli will bring that when he comes back as well. But
I can't wait.
Awar looks like a direct midfield, attacking midfielder. He can pass, but he's also not afraid to run at the defence. So. Yeah, I think for me, he'd probably be top of the list, but we'll have to see.
We'll see. So next we're going to move on to the board. Now, when we talk about the board, it's quite hard to figure out who we're talking about because there's been a lot of chopping and changing over the past.
Yeah, I was a bit worried about this topic.
I was doing a bit of research today. I was doing my due diligence, and I was looking at the members of the board in the past couple of years. Now, we had Gazidis, and then he left for Milan. Now, obviously, Gazidis is not a popular figure around the Emirates because of the investment and I think the bad investment that was done under his reign. But then we also had Raul Sanyehi, who was there for her massive 2 years. Sven Mislintat, who was there for 3 years. And it seems like forever the board has been changing. So when we're going to talk about the problems of the board, I think it's more the instability that is the problem, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, does not look stable at all, does it? I mean, at the start of the season, when all this reshuffling was happening and they'd got rid of a few scouts as well, and it looked like Edu was really taking the reins and that he had a really good relationship with Arteta. I was excited. I thought, right, okay, they're it looks like a bit of a cull. That's not a nice thing, but maybe this is the start of Arsenal getting their act together. And then the signings just weren't that exciting. I mean, look, Willian did have his best season statistically for Chelsea last year. So I thought, okay, let's see. There was talk of him maybe playing centrally. So I was maybe excited to see him as a number 10 in a 4-2-3-1 role. That hasn't happened. But I mean, Cedric on long-term contract, Mari on long-term contract. It looks to me like Edu has kind of just, I know Cedric isn't Brazilian, but it did look a bit like he was getting his Brazilian, Portuguese-speaking friends on big contracts, really. I mean, 200k a week for Willian for 3 years.
It is unbelievable. We've given him a 3-year contract.
You'd think, you look at the mess we're in with Ozil now, yeah? 350k. I know that's an extra 150, but the point is that we're paying too much money to a player who, personally, I don't believe has passed it, but obviously for footballing or non-footballing
reasons,
they don't want to play him. And, the club is bleeding 350k a week with him not playing. To then make a very similar call on Willian, who's 32, and pay him 182k plus bonuses a week was astounding to me. I mean, I know they got him on a free, but that is still, the wage bill is gonna, sink the ship.
And the thing is, free transfers now aren't free. You just pay the agent the transfer fee. Like his agent, Kia Jarubchan, who we will come on to, is that he would have made plenty of money out of that. And this is like when you brought up Edu, this is part of the issue. You're right. He brought in like Willian and Suarez, and now the kind of rumors I heard or word I heard was that he gets these players so that Jarubchan will give him his big players. If you know what I mean, it's like if you take a few of my average players, then maybe I'll chuck you a Martinelli. If you know what I mean, like
my initial feeling to the Willian signing is that it looks like a very bad signing now because of how badly we're doing. The reality is Arsenal didn't move any players on in the summer, really. I mean, Torreira went on loan, Guendouzi as well. So they obviously thought, Edu and Mikel thought that they had a squad good enough to work with, that they could build a year. And adding Willian as an experienced winner, if you like, would only help that squad that they thought they had. Obviously, with what's happened this season, that isn't the case. We haven't strengthened enough, and now it just looks like an awful signing. I think maybe they brought in Willian to maybe be a mentor to Martinelli, was my thinking. Martinelli's a young Brazilian, direct footballer. Willian, in his prime, was quite direct, and it might have been a good someone to get his arm around Martinelli and help mentor him, and to have him around the squad if we were doing well. You know, we'd be saying, what a great signing, what a good squad player Willian is. But, you know, results aren't going that way. And now it just looks like a bad signing. I'm not sure what you think about it, Rory.
That's part of it as well. He's also a 31-year-old coming into an underperforming team. How well can you perform when the rest of the team are performing shite? And this is like, it's almost an excuse for every other player as well. Like, well, how can I play well when everyone else is playing bad? It's like a snake eating its own tail, if you know what I mean. But like, yeah, I think you're right. In context, the Willian signing definitely looks worse. It's mad that we've opted in 3 years. If I see him get the ball, stand still, and pass it backwards one more time, I'm going to pull my hair out. Like,
it's insane, isn't it? It's yeah.
He doesn't run. He does not run. It's infuriating.
Yeah, I mean, we'll get on to how much of what Arteta has to do with that in a second, because I have got some thoughts now when we speak about the manager a bit later on. But
Tommy, you talked about how the money was misspent. I looked through our transfers for the past. Well, since the Emirates era, right? I looked at our transfers, and it is fucking depressing because there's a lot of signings that really did not work out. Now, I was looking.
If you read them out, I'll rate them out of 10, and we can.
Right. So I've highlighted the worst transfer windows we've had, right? And they are absolute stinkers. So let's have a look. The first one was 2010, 2011. Can you remember who we signed? The two players we signed that year, 2010, 2011.
My memory's not great, mate.
Squillaci and Marouane Chamakh.
Unbelievably bad.
Right?
And,
Yeah, the summer before, we'd sold Kolo Touré and Adebayor to Man City, right? So we'd sold arguably one of our best centre-backs, and Adebayor, when he fancies it, one of the best strikers in the league, to a direct rival, and replaced him with Chamakh. Now, the next season was the panic window. Do you remember when we signed all the players on the last day?
Including Arteta.
Now, we spent 74 million, now this is euros, on Gervinho, Arteta, Mertesacker, Andre Santos, Park Chu-young. Do you remember him?
Yeah, he was going to be the next big thing.
Yeah. Carl Jenkinson and Joel Campbell. Now, how many of them signings would you say got above a 5 out of 10 in their time at Arsenal?
Per Mertesacker.
Yeah.
Mate, just because of that FA Cup final.
Just for that final,
that was a good signing, and he added some good experience. He had some bad times when, you know, he was caught one-on-one versus quick strikers. But, Per Mertesacker, and there was one more. But
maybe Arteta I would give over a 5 out of 10, maybe.
Yeah, Arteta, a 5 out of 10. I mean, Andre Santos, what an awful signing.
All I think of is like United 8-2 when I think of Andre Santos.
Yeah, I mean, defensively, the probably worst left back we've had.
And to sum up that window, we sold that summer Fabregas, Nasri, and Gaël Clichy.
Yeah, do you know what? I think Nasri was such an underrated player for Arsenal. He is exactly the type of player that we could do with right now. Yeah. He's so creative. He can play on the wing, versatile, great player. Yeah, I mean, Arteta was definitely a kind of makeshift replacement for Fabregas. He did a fairly all right job towards the end of he could barely run, but I mean it was